Good morning. I'm Barbara Saxton. My pronouns are she and her, and you are very, very welcome here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto. We gather, our different paths entwine to deepen our spiritual lives, nourishing connection, learning from each other, caring for each other, tending to our world. And it doesn't look like we have a problem with room here, but if you are sitting in a row all by yourself or have a lot of space, scooch over a little bit to make room for other people who come in. We gather on unceded, stolen land of the Tamien and Ramaytush peoples. We acknowledge these communities in the interest of truth and justice, awareness and gratitude, in order to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. We pledge to join the Tamien and Ramaytush people whenever they ask us for solidarity. Masks are not required, but are strongly encouraged. We express our mutual respect by supporting each other's decisions about masking, distancing, and other health measures. If you're here in person and you have questions about Unitarian Universalism or this congregation, stop by the welcome table with the blue tablecloth and chat with a friendly member of our membership team. You can leave your contact information if you want to receive notifications of upcoming events. Stop by, and if this is the week that you want to join our congregation, you can also do that here today. Today, we're pleased to have a worship leader, the Reverend Elizabeth Banks, who currently serves as the Friendship Host Coordinator with the Humphrey Fellows Fulbright program. She also sings with the auditioned Davis Community Chorale. Beth served as a UU congregational minister for 34 years and taught English as a second language in Washington State and South Korea. Both careers helped prepare her for her work with the organizations that encourage community, curiosity, and mutual respect. Reverend Banks resides in Davis, California, and also has family here at UUCPA. Phyllis, deceased, Richard Cassel, and Chaz Cassel. Welcome, Reverend Beth. And now, let us begin our service. Thank you. I love that. Randall Thompson. If you have a chalice with you at home, please light it along with me. Our chalice lighting words today come from a Passover Haggadah. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom.
This morning, let's tune our heart and mind and spirit to gratefulness. For this hour, we are held in community that is both physical evidence of change. This congregation is undergoing a physical change of its facility, and evidence of the steady gift of ongoing community just by looking around you here. And here we are surrounded by music that inspires and heals and brings joy. With people who gather, we experience the power of person-to-person caring and what happens when many people come together as a voice for justice. So right now, in this hour, we can pause and reflect on life in all of its complexity, in all of its splendor. And in our time together, may we find a message that stirs us, maybe in unexpected ways. Maybe that's the best. Perhaps from music with the Aurora Singers, or in a hymn, a glance received by a friend or a stranger, the spoken word, or moments of quiet. And so I invite you to join with me in imagining, making internal space inside of yourself for something new to enter your mind, your heart, or your spirit. And so if you feel comfortable with me, just breathe. 3 good, full breaths. And as we hear the sound of the bell into the silence, let's allow ourselves to arrive here fully.
Hi, you can't hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Is it good now? All right. Good morning once again. If you are young or young at heart, please join me up here on this colorful quilt for a story. Today's story is very cool because it was written by a child. And I recently learned that only out of the billions and billions of us, only 1% have written a book. So it's very cool that this story, called I Am Jazz, was written by a kid. And that even though we are small, we can still do amazing things like write a book. So, hello. So this book is called I Am Jazz, and it's by Jessica Hertel and Jazz Jennings. I'm Jazz. For as long as I can remember, my favorite color has been pink. My second favorite color is silver, and my third favorite color is green. Here are some of my other favorite things: dancing, singing, backflips, drawing, soccer, swimming, makeup, and pretending I'm a pop star. Most of all, I love mermaids. Sometimes I even wear a mermaid tail in the pool. I have a girl brain, but a boy body. This is what's called transgender. I was born this way. When I was very little, and my mom would say, "You're such a good boy," I would say, "No, Mama, good girl." At first, my family was confused. They'd always thought of me as a boy. As I got a little bit older, I hardly ever played with trucks or tools or superheroes, only princesses and mermaid costumes. My brother told me that this was girl stuff, and I kept right on playing. My sister said I was always talking to her about my girl thoughts and my girl dreams, and how one day I would like to be a beautiful lady. And she would giggle and said, "You're a funny kid. You're a funny kid." Sometimes my parents let me wear my sister's dresses around the house, but whenever they went out, I had to put on my boy clothes again. This made me mad. Still, I never gave up trying to convince them. Pretending that I was a boy felt like telling a lie. Then, one amazing day, everything changed. Good morning. Mom and Dad took me to see a new doctor, and who asked me lots and lots of questions. Afterwards, the doctor spoke to my parents, and I heard the word transgender for the very first time. The night at bedtime, my parents both hugged me and said, "We understand now. Be who you are. We love you no matter what." And this made me smile and smile and smile. Mom and Dad said I could start wearing girl clothes to school and growing my hair long. They even let me change my name to Jazz. Being Jazz felt much more like being me. Mom said that being Jazz would make me different from the other kids at school. But being different is okay. What's important, she said, is that I'm happy with who I am. Being Jazz caused some other people to be confused too, like the teachers at school. At the beginning of the year, they wanted me to use the boys' bathroom and play in the boys' team in the gym class, but that didn't feel normal to me at all. I was so happy when the teachers changed their mind. I cannot imagine playing on the same team as Casey and Samantha. Even today, there are kids who tease me or call me by a boy name or ignore me altogether, and this makes me feel real crummy. But then I remember that the kids who get to know me usually really want to be my friend, and they say that I'm one of the nicest girls at school. I don't mind being different. Different is special. I think what matters most is what a person is like inside. And inside, I am happy. I am having fun, and I am proud. I am Jazz. Thank you for listening to my story today. Please rise now in body or spirit and join us in singing, I think it's number 22, For the Beauty of the Earth. And then all my friends can join me out in the lobby after the song for religious education.
Good sound today. Whoa. Let us now take a few moments of silent prayer or meditation to hold all that we have heard and with compassion and care. Blessed be. While coming of age in a 1950s, 60s suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, I read profusely, and I don't recall censorship or book bans limiting books that I withdrew from our local library, but maybe I was just blissfully unaware. After all, those were years when McCarthyism was rampant in the United States. Even conservative Republican Dwight D. Eisenhower, however, famously said, "Don't join the book burners. Don't think you're going to conceal faults by concealing evidence that they never existed. Don't be afraid to go to your library and read every book." Perusing the 100 titles on the American Library Association's Banned and Challenged website that Reverend Beth directed us to, I discovered some interesting statistics. Of those 100 books, I had read 32, studied at least 10 as part of my own public middle and high school education, and as a teacher later in life, I personally assigned and taught at least 21 of them. And if I included all banned and challenged books from the past 5 decades, not just the decade from, that we've come to now, those numbers would ratchet up significantly. My parents did not own many books themselves, unless you count my father's Bible, Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking, and various Reader's Digest abridged tomes. Only one on those shelves actually caught my eye when I was about 9 or 10, Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. Much of the meager sex education I and most of my information-starved young female friends came from sitting knee to knee in a small lighted closet, poring over illustrated medical books that belonged to the doctor-father of one of our group. Those volumes were good for identifying essential body parts and vocabulary, the what, which, and when, but precious little about the how, and especially the why of such matters. Lady Chatterley, however, definitely filled in the blanks. After secreting that book out of my house to share the juiciest passages with my compatriots in crime, I was always careful to avoid leaving a hole where the book had rested on the shelf, and to return it to its rightful place after we had checked it out. Unlike Great Britain, that book was not technically banned in the United States, but it did not show up on many Ohio State or local approved curricula either. However, quite a number of the ALA's 100 titles were explicitly taught in my 1960s middle and high school English classes, namely Brave New World, To Kill a Mockingbird, Of Mice and Men, Catcher in the Rye, Anne Frank's Diary, 1984, Slaughterhouse-Five, Lolita, and most of the plays of William Shakespeare. After I became a teacher in 2001, I taught lessons based on nearly all the above-mentioned titles, plus The Kite Runner, The Giver, Bless Me Ultima, Fahrenheit 451, and many, many others. Why was I permitted to teach such salacious, according to some, or provocative literature and not get fired? Because all of those titles had been approved for classroom instruction purposes by my state and local school boards. In addition, my classroom syllabi always revealed titles of books that we would be reading, discussing, and using as a basis for literary analysis. In the event of significant parental objections to any titles, and there were occasionally some, I stood ready with alternative titles that were similar in genre and theme, not equivalent from the standpoint of literary merit, but a necessary compromise nonetheless. As Lyndon Johnson, another president I don't particularly care for, but hey, once said, books and ideas are the most effective weapons against intolerance and ignorance. Amen to that.
So we're going to be singing Amazing Grace. And I wanted to share a little background information about this hymn. Many people know that the lyrics were written by John Newton in a conversion experience when he realized that the slave trade was truly evil and his part in participating in it was evil. But this was also a song that was taught to the Cherokee Nation by Christian missionaries, and the Cherokee Nation took this into their culture and translated it into their own language. And they claimed it as their own. And it is the song that they did sing on the Trail of Tears. It resurfaced again in the civil rights movement, sung by Fannie Lou Hamer, one of the powerful voices of the civil rights and voting rights movements. And so this is a hymn, it's a song that's in support of racial equality as a moral and religious pursuit. So as you sing it, we might sing it a little differently, realizing that history. So I invite you to sing in that spirit. And here are some great samples of banned books.
Our first excerpt is from I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This is an autobiography. Wouldn't they be surprised when one day I woke out of my black, ugly dream and my real hair, which was long and blonde, would take the place of the kinky mass that Mama wouldn't let me straighten. My light blue eyes were going to hypnotize them, and after all the things they said about my daddy must have been a Chinaman, I thought they meant made out of china, like a cup, because my eyes were so small and squinty. Then they would understand why I had never picked up a Southern accent or spoke the common slang, and why I had to be forced to eat pig's tails and snouts. Because I was really white, and because a cruel fairy stepmother who was understandably jealous of my beauty had turned me into a too big Negro girl with nappy black hair, broad feet, and a space between her teeth that would hold a number 2 pencil. In his review of Angelou's book, James Baldwin wrote, I know why the caged bird sings liberates the reader, simply because Maya Angelou confronts her own life with such moving wonder, such a luminous dignity. Here is a book as joyous as painful, as mysterious and memorable as childhood itself. This book landed on the banned list due to sexually explicit scenes. It has also been challenged for being anti-white and encouraging homosexuality.
And the second excerpt is from the introduction from An Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, nonfiction. A quote begins, "We are here to educate, not forgive. We are here to enlighten, not accuse." Written by Willie Johns, Brighton Seminole Reservation in Florida. Under the crust of that portion of earth called the United States of America, quote, "from California to the Gulf Stream waters," end quote, are interred the bones and villages, fields, and sacred objects of American Indians. They cry out for their stories to be heard through their descendants, who carry the memories of how the country was founded and how it came to be as it is today. The history of the United States is a history of settler colonization, the founding of a state based on the ideology of white supremacy, the widespread practice of African slavery, and a policy of genocide and land theft. Those who seek history with an upbeat ending, a history of redemption and reconciliation, may look around and observe that such a conclusion is not visible, not even in utopian dreams of a better society. An Indigenous Peoples' History is on banned book lists for teaching critical race theory and presenting history that inflicts the feeling of white guilt.
Our next excerpt is from The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. It's fiction. Hosseini grew up in Afghanistan in the 1970s before moving to the US as a refugee. The beginning of the novel is informed by his childhood experiences in Afghanistan. The main character, Amir, describes his relationship with his childhood constant companion, Hassan. I never thought of me and Hassan as friends, not in the usual sense anyhow. Never mind that we taught each other to ride a bicycle with no hands or to build a fully functional camera out of a cardboard box. Never mind that we spent entire winters flying kites, running kites. Never mind that, to me, the face of Afghanistan was that of a boy with a thin-boned frame, a shaved head and low-set ears, a boy with a Chinese doll face, perpetually lit by a hair-lipped smile. Never mind any of those things, because history isn't easy to overcome. Neither is religion. In the end, I was a Pashtun and he was a Hazara. I was Sunni and he was Shia, and nothing was ever going to change that. nothing. Kite Runner was banned, challenged for depictions of homosexuality, offensive language, religious viewpoints, sexually explicit scenes, descriptions of violence. There's also a fear that the book promoted Islam.
Final excerpt is 1984 by James Orwell, dystopian fiction. Orwell wrote 1984 to have the reader experience the terrifying possibilities of totalitarianism. Readers see the world through the eyes of Winston, who rebels against the system. And the novel's important themes include controlling the mind through language. I want us to listen to this. Controlling the mind through language, intimidation, and the importance of knowing history. Simi works at the Ministry of Truth, and he's creating a new dictionary of language that will be approved by the party. "How is the dictionary getting on?" said Winston. "Slowly," said Simi. "I'm on the adjectives. It's fascinating. The 11th edition is the definitive edition. We're getting to where the language takes its final shape, the shape it's going to have when nobody speaks anything else. And when we finished it, people like you will have to learn the language all over." You think, I dare say, that our chief job is inventing new words, but not a bit of it. We are destroying words, scores of them, hundreds of them every day. We're cutting the language down to the bone. It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words. Of course, the great wastage is in verbs and adjectives, but there are hundreds of nouns that can be got rid of as well. It isn't only synonyms, there are also antonyms. After all, what justification is there for a word which is simply the opposite of some other word? A word that contains the opposite in itself. Take good, for instance. If you have a word like good, what need is there for a word like bad? Ungood will do just as well. Better, because it's an exact opposite, which the other is not. Or again, if you want a stronger version of good, what sense is there in having a whole string of vague, useless words like excellent and splendid and all the rest of them? Plus good covers the meaning, or double plus good, if you want something stronger. 1984 is listed as the most frequently banned book in the United States. The theme of the book is the dangers of authoritarianism. However, the message has been misunderstood by some as being pro-communist. It's also banned for sexually explicit content and depictions of torture. I really don't need to preach the sermon after giving you the readings, but I will. When looking for used copies of the book, all kinds of books, even banned books, to bring, I went to a very hip local store in Davis that sells used books, and I said, do you have a banned books section? And they took me to the music section. That kind of band. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. I thought my work has just begun. A video clip of a nationally known novelist, Anne Patchett, showed up on my Facebook account. She's standing in front of the shelves of her brightly colored books, all in her independent bookstore, and she's beaming, she's shining. Her eyes are sparkling, and with a voice just shy of laughter, she says, "It's a pretty big day for me personally." And you wonder, what? Another bestseller, an award? I just got a call that 2 of my novels have been banned in Orange County, the Florida school system, and she is celebrating. With mock seriousness, she says, "Be careful. Don't read my books," which you know means everyone's going to go out and buy her books. For an increasing number of authors like her, being a banned author, is a badge of honor. I love her humor, I love her light touch, But book banning is a sign of difficulties for democracy and freedom of speech. One characteristic that's found in all countries that have moved towards authoritarianism is an effort to control publications and books, any form of the written word. In Nazi-controlled Germany, 25,000 non-German books were burned in one day, May 10th, 1933, in a public ritual. 25,000 books just burned in one day. And what gets me is it was children and youth that were enlisted to find those books in their communities. China's Cultural Revolution in the 1960s and 1970s with Mao Zedong is another example. In Serbia in 1992, it's estimated that 2 million books were burned by nationalists. And in Iraq, in 2015, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria burned the Mosul University Library with over 1 million resources. Restriction, destruction of books increases wherever a government leader with power wants to dictate the thoughts of a population. It's always about control. Historically, Unitarians and Universalists have been cast out of communities or died for what they published. Unitarian Universalists could be called people of the banned book. You can take that as your badge of honor. So I go way back in history. Michael Servetus lived during the mid-1500s. In the cultural centers of Europe, there was a battle going on between the established Catholic Church and the emerging faiths, the Protestant or protest churches. Martin Luther and John Calvin were the most widely known reformers of that time, but there were others, including this Michael Servetus, the person Unitarians claim as an important part of our heritage. Servetus was brilliant, but he was not wise, as you will hear. A gifted student of languages, he read ancient sources of biblical text, and in his studies, he found no evidence of the Trinity, that is, God's essence divided into 3 divine entities of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Servetus had a fierce rivalry with Calvin. He took Calvin's book that was much loved on theology and wrote personal insults in the margins. Wait till you hear, he called him idiot, simpleton, and referred to Calvin's conclusions as vomit. And he sent it back to Calvin. To say that this critique was not well received is an understatement. Soon, both Catholic and Protestant leaders demanded his capture and his execution. The life of Servetus unfolded with all the drama of a Netflix or Amazon Prime thriller. I don't know if it would have made it on Disney. I don't think so. He was caught, he escaped, and was burned in effigy. He changed his identity, changed his professions, went into hiding, returned to reveal his identity, and couldn't resist taunting his enemies, and then he was caught again. Being a heretic and writing books to spread heresy was punishable by death. It was seen as one of the worst crimes you could ever do. They really believed if you got it wrong, you were condemning someone to an eternal life of pain. It was serious. Whatever leaders had the ability to do, they did. Whoever was in power, they burned the books of the opposition, and the author was burned with their books. So, Servetus was burned with his books. The pyre for Servetus's execution was built from newly cut, slow-burning branches. People were angry. Every copy of his book that could be found was used as fuel around his feet, and a copy was strapped to his arm. Every important religious and government leader was present for the execution. It was a big event in Geneva. But ideas are not burned. with the person, nor the books. The ideas continue. But it did make me wonder, why is the written word so powerful? Why are books so intimidating? It's because what we read shapes our thoughts and shapes who we will become as individuals. What we read by a society influences how groups of people think and informs the character of society. Every case of book banning I have found in our religious traditions, where we have been the recipient of that book banning, happens because the content encouraged these things: openness to the stranger, a God that is loving and not judging, and narrowing the distance between a divine Jesus and a common human being. Or if you prefer the language, seeing the potential divine, the potential spark in every person. All these ideas were seen as dangerous. So fast forward hundreds of years to the 1820s in the United States, the years leading up to the Civil War, and you know that historians now are often comparing our times to the years leading up to the Civil War. A popular literary magazine in New England challenged local writers to submit stories using two subjects. This was their challenge: the colonial history of America, so they were supposed to go back to the 1700s, and Native American life, those two. They could do whatever they wanted, but those two had to be in the story. 22-year-old Lydia Maria Child answered that challenge. She created a story of an interracial marriage between a Puritan woman and the First Nations man living in Salem, Massachusetts. This was not what the people in that publication had ever imagined. Critics condemned the storyline as being in very bad taste. Now, in today's language, I don't know what that would be. You know how you don't really want to read the comments after an article because they're so bad? This was considered really condemning to say that it was in very bad taste. But because of this, she became an immediate celebrity. So popular. The condemnation launched her writing career. Research about the history of book banning in the United States repeatedly led me back to this publication called the Juvenile Miscellany. It was a periodical for children written during the years leading up to that Civil War. And I was amazed that the main contributor and the editor was none other than Lydia Julia Child. She was aware that the periodical was read by the rich and respectable families of the Boston area. Those are predominantly, but not all Unitarians, but predominantly Unitarians. The Juvenile Miscellany was extremely popular with children. They'd wait on the front steps of their homes for the mail carrier. But there was a problem from the very beginning. In this publication, the main characters, the children in the stories, were allies of the marginalized groups: the First Nations people, the Native Americans, the immigrants, the people of color, and women. And these were all areas of this author's social justice work for her whole life. The perspective of the characters in the publication was not intended to be the same perspective as the wealthy reader. Her stories encouraged empathy with those who were outside the children's and most importantly, the parents' social sphere. The fictional stories often gave the children a moral dilemma and encouraged them to come to their own conclusions. Imagine that. The Juvenile Miscellany was freeing, and it was also seen as very dangerous. By the 1830s, the Juvenile Miscellany included an increasing number of topics that made the parents uncomfortable. The publications weren't destroyed in public fires. No centralized authority banned them. the wealthy, educated New England subscribers simply abandoned the magazine, removing its influence from their homes, and it folded within 18 months. In the 1830s, it was the parents, the consumers, who enacted the ban out of their own unwillingness to morally and ethically become uncomfortable. We grow in our humanity when we are faced and wrestle with difficult, uncomfortable dilemmas, wherever we encounter them, including in publications. This applies to 2015 as well as the 1830s. And starting from the 1800s to today, one of the most frequent reasons for banning a publication is that the subject is not emotionally appropriate for children, for youth, or not an appropriate moral perspective to be in the public square. The American Library Association reports that in 2024, 4,200 book titles are listed as challenged or banned. And that only grows by leaps and bounds. The number of states actively banning books is increasing, and in May 2025, the Pentagon ordered that military academies and all schools on American foreign bases would remove hundreds of books that are incompatible with the Pentagon's ideology, and that include actually a poster of Michelle Obama be removed. And California, in case you're thinking, well, we're pretty safe here in California, is not immune to books being restricted, challenged, or banned. It's here. In Davis, which is seen from our perspective as an incredibly liberal community, in May 2024, the far-right Moms for Liberty won a settlement for their right to speak in the public library gathering. A significant part of their issue of that discussion that was closed down was the presence of books that affirm transgender rights. In Fresno County, close by, a supervisor created one of California's first citizen review committees for library books. They could decide that books with sexual reference or gender identity would be moved to a special section, and parental permission would be needed to gain access to any book in this part of their libraries, done to protect children, of course. The Seventh Wish is a banned book written by Kate Messner, and after publishing this book, she received several messages from librarians and parents who were concerned about the book's appropriateness. The older sibling, by the way, of this book is grappling with the issue of addiction. And one elementary school librarian explained why she wouldn't put the book on the library shelf. She said, "For now, I just need the 10 and 11-year-olds' biggest worry to be about friendships, summer camps, and maybe their first pimple or two." How do children come to understand the addiction they witness in their own families or experience themselves? Limiting the kind of life that is portrayed in books with no identity issues or trauma to be endured and survived shows an idealized American childhood that is rarely, if ever, in existence. The focus for banning is most often on issues of race and sexuality. However, here are some other broad categories under diversity. People living with disabilities. Religion, especially faiths that are not mainline conservative Christian, and this also includes any reference to the Holocaust. People living with mental illness. And fiction or nonfiction that includes historical perspective that is not white, Northern European, or that doesn't portray the United States as uniformly positive in the world. The willingness to embrace the diversity that's represented on banned lists of publications is central to Unitarian Universalism. It's about our faith. These books are tools that allow people who have been invisible or misunderstood to be seen and heard and known. They invite empathy, an ability to help mutual understanding. We need books that give a more complete history of our country. And I always like people like Heather Cox Richardson, who tells you, what can you do? Instead of just telling you the problem. So here's what we can do. Read themes that stretch beyond our comfort zone. Support local libraries in our communities. There's one not far from this church. Ask librarians how you can support them. Assume that supporting the book collection and the staff is needed. Get involved in national organizations if that suits you. In the sermon's description, I had a quote by David Sedaris. A good book would take me out of myself and then stuff me back in, outsized now and uneasy with the fit. What is on your virtual or physical bookshelf? Your Kindle, your podcast, your bedside table, waiting to be read? What will stretch you and make you uneasy? Or to not fit back in your skin quite right anymore? I want to know, what are you reading that could be considered dangerous? If you brought a banned book today, you're invited to bring it out to the table that's here and exchange. Take one that you did not bring. And I'll bring the ones that I have brought from various libraries. There are also stickers for you to take. And I hope that there is not one book left. Amen.
We create this space together, not out of wood or glass, not even out of electricity and binary signals, but out of our presence. Wherever we are today, we've chosen to be together, hoping that together we can do so much more to make our lives into all that we dream of and make our world into one that we hope to see. If you are moved, we are moved by gratitude to each other. We may choose to support with whatever financial resources that we can this community that we are creating and that is creating us. You can use cash or check or the QR code or text info in the order of service. The offering will now be given and received.
Just stay right here. They're the backup singers for you guys. You see, it's going to be great. Thank you for these gifts that go to support this wonderful congregation. This closing song, which is just a fun rocker song, Seed of Hope, was written by John Kramer, and he gave this congregation permission to use this into the future. It's a very simple song, and the choir is going to make it even simpler for you. He wrote it hoping that it would bring, well, nothing other than hope to congregations. And we could use a little hope right now. So if you can sing with all the enthusiasm you've got in your body and soul, that would be great. Don't worry about getting the exact right note. Just sing out. Only one word changes. There's a seed of hope in my soul, a little seed of hope in my soul. Gonna send it every day so that it grows stronger. Oh, they pray. Then the seed of hope soon will bloom in my soul. Just a little faster. There's a seed of joy in my soul, a little seed of joy in my soul. Gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. Oh, this I pray. Then the seed of joy soon will bloom in my soul. There's a seed of peace in my soul, a little seed of peace in my soul. I'm gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. Oh, this I pray. Then the seed of peace soon will bloom in my soul. One more time. Hope. There's a seed of hope in my soul, a little seed of hope in my soul. Gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. Oh, this I pray. Then the seed of hope soon will bloom in my soul. Oh, they got harmony too. And the extinguishing. Excuse me.
Today's words for extinguishing our chalice are from Elizabeth Sella Jones. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you so much, the Aurora Singers, for your contribution to this service. Wonderful. Whether online or here in the main hall, please stay after the benediction for our conversation time. We all begin with greeting time, a chance to speak to someone you haven't met before or haven't seen in a while. Old timers, please greet a newcomer and see if you could find out enough of what brought them here to introduce them to someone else they might want to meet. Also remember to look at the band books, which actually belong to Reverend Beth, that are on the table at the front of the hall.
And they're to be given away, so I don't want them to go home with me.
Oh, I did not know that.
They're for you.
Wow. And then there are also some of the books that the congregation brought on the table outside. And we also have a second Sunday lunch today, lots of stuff going on. Now, if you're online, please unmute yourself, turn on your video, and touch hands virtually like this while we say our benediction together. If you're in the main hall or the patio, reach out to hold hands if you and the person next to you are comfortable with that, and to show that you are connected in spirit, or cross your hands over your heart. Now we will say the benediction together. Go out.